Right. Let's consider some factors which would affect the aggregate demand curve and how they would affect it. Just to keep in mind is that the real GDP, or Y, is a function of consumption, investment, government expenditures, and net exports. And our real GDP is essentially your x-axis on the aggregate demand curve. So the first thing you want to consider is an increase in the price level. The price level increases due to the wealth, interest rate, and international trade effects. Real GDP demanded will fall. Hence, there's an upwards movement on the aggregate demand curve. So the aggregate demand curve does not shift, there's just a movement up towards it. Secondly, an increase in government purchases stimulates the economy, causing an increase in demand for goods at each and every price level, which results in an outward shift of the aggregate demand curve. Remember, G is a component of real GDP over here, as you can see. The third thing to consider is higher state income taxes. Higher state income taxes result in lower disposable income, which will reduce consumption in the economy. Since consumption at each price level is reduced, there will be a leftward shift in the demand curve. The fourth thing we want to consider is an increase in interest rates. As interest rates rise, borrowing money becomes more expensive for both consumers and firms. They will likely borrow less to spend and will not undertake as many long-term investment projects. So essentially, consumption as well as investment goes down, which results in a leftward shift in the aggregate demand curve. Fifth, let's consider faster foreign income growth. Their foreign countries' incomes are growing faster than, say, relatively to the US. This may result in them importing more goods from us, and this leads to net exports going down and thus a leftward shift in the aggregate demand curve. And finally, let's consider an appreciating currency, which means that our domestic currency is essentially stronger than a foreign one, and we can purchase more goods with it. A higher exchange rate between the dollar and a foreign currency just means that it will lead to less exports because it'll be more expensive for foreign countries to purchase our goods, and it'll lead to more imports because it'll be essentially cheaper for us to purchase goods from foreign countries. All this will mean is a decrease in net exports, and this will result in a leftward shift in the aggregate demand curve.